It's Rob!
Tony!
And I'm Jeff.
We're in gaming.
And that's you!
Hey gamers, what's going on? It's Warshack here, and we are going to talk about, discuss, and kind of go over all of the TGT Legendaries, whether you should DE it or whether you should keep it. And this video is going to be a little bit lengthy. I'm going to be talking throughout the entire thing, so if I mess up on a part, I really don't want to just make a new video because I messed up. So bear with me. This is kind of long. There's a lot of explanation. I'm going to talk about each card, like I said, and go over, hey, these are the reasons why you should DE it. These are the reasons why you shouldn't. I'm going to start with each class-specific legendary and then move our way into the neutrals. And the reason I haven't posted this video sooner than what I am now, and that is because I kind of wanted to test out and play with all the legendaries first to kind of see what decks they fit in and know what I'm talking about, along with play against people who may be using them. And for some of the legendaries, a lot of people have been using them, a lot of people have been playing them, very effective, some of them not too much, and we'll get right into that. So we'll go into my collection here, and I believe the first kind of one we're going to talk about is the Druid Legendary, and then we'll go into the Grand Tournament. Okay, so we're going to talk about Druid, Hunter, Mage, all the way down the list into the neutrals. So we're going to talk about the first Druid one, the 9-drop, 5/5 in stats. So obviously the stats are not why you play this card, its ability, and its ability is your minions cost 1. Unfortunately, I haven't seen a single player use this card against me. I have, however, seen someone play Confessor Paladin, which is another Priest TGT Legendary, and Confessor Paladin was able to summon this card, and they played from there every, creature in their hand, and ended up winning the game because of that. But that's like a one-time scenario. Not very often does that combination come, nor have I seen a Druid really play this card and make an impactful, swing into the game. So unfortunately, Druid didn't get the good end of the stick in this expansion along with the Rogue, but we'll hit on them later. So if you end up getting this legendary, unfortunately, no matter how cool its ability is, it's just not playable as of now. I mean, in the future, there could be decks revolved around this card, but I mean, we're a couple months out of the expansion now, and still, I have not seen a single person play this card, and I attempted playing a Druid deck with this card in it, and it just didn't work. It's not efficient enough, it's not consistent, so unfortunately if you get this guy, your best bet is to DE him and enchant something that you really need. So let's actually talk about what, actually no, fuck it. We'll just go on to the Hunter and I'll kind of explain how it goes along. So we got the Hunter. We'll actually start with Acid Maul and then we'll make our way to the Golden Dread scale. So Acid Maul is a 7-drop, 4/2, and it says whenever another minion takes damage, destroy it. Really cool ability. It's like it gives venom to pretty much everything. So whatever attacks whatever, both of the creatures die. So let's say it's pretty much a Hunter, 10 mana, clear the entire board. So you play Acid Maul, you play Call, Unleash the Hounds. It costs 10 mana, and you're able to kill whatever the fuck you feel like it. And it really doesn't matter if the 1/1 Hound dies because it's not important. So your 1/1 Hound could potentially kill an 8/8 Ragnaros because of the ability Acid Maul spits out. Unfortunately, though, let's say it is a beast, so that's good too. But unfortunately, with this card, it's just cost too much mana. The stats are absolutely horrible. And if you're counting on turn 10 in a Hunter deck to clear the field, you're obviously going to probably lose that game anyway because Hunter, as we know, a very fast-paced, aggressive deck, and there's really just no room for Acid Maul in that deck. I mean, like I said, if you're hoping for that 10-mana field clear, that's not the normal way you play a Hunter. I'd say there's 3 main Hunter decks are now face, and then a hybrid between face and then mid-range. So you got 3, you got your face, you got your hybrid, and you got your mid-range, and then, like I said, the hybrid's in between face and mid-range. So there's really no room for this huge 7-drop. You might as well just play Dr. Boom, and call it a day. So if you end up getting Acid Maul, unfortunately, DE him. But if you end up getting him out of like a web spinner or something like that, that's cool. He may come into play, but you normally would never play this guy. Like, just put him in your deck. There's just not enough room for this card in this Hunter decks as of now. Maybe we'll see in the future some later game Hunter decks, but again, it's just not in the meta right now. Dreadscale, I really like this card a lot. It's a 3-drop, 4/2, so the stats are the same as a 7-drop, but they're decent 3-drop stats. For the most part, you'll see a lot of the TGT 3-drops are 3-drop, 3/4, just like the Darkbane and Lightbane, which we'll talk about those in a little bit. So 4 attack, really not that bad. The 2 HP is kind of meh, but it's the effect that we like, and at the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to all other minions. And pretty much the only reason I would play this card in any deck, or the Hunter deck in particular, because that's the only deck you played in, is how many paladins we're seeing in ranked play right now. We all have gone against the secret paladin and know how annoying it is. And there's always that turn 3. It seems like every time you go against paladin, it's turn 3 muster for battle. Summon a bunch of 1/1s. Well, Dreadscale says, fuck you, it doesn't matter how many 1/1s you play, I'm going to kill him at the end of your turn. Also, when he does blow up the field with the 1/1 damage, it does not damage himself, obviously. So, he's like a mini Baron. I found that playing this card is really fun. It's a little bit hard to make room for him because his ability is a bit wonky because your entire, normally a hunter deck revolves around having low, kind of low HP creatures, low cost creatures, and his 1 damage to everything on the field kind of counteracts your field as well. But I was able to play him in my anti-secret deck, which worked out quite well. But for the most part, unfortunately, Dreadscale, no matter how much I like his ability and no matter how well it works against Paladin, you can't really just build a single deck against another, just one deck. You kind of want it good against all decks. So, I mean, if you really play Hunter a lot, I wouldn't recommend DEing him. But if you don't find yourself playing mid or face Hunter, it's just a card you'd want to DE because he only fits, in a very specific kind of deck versus another very specific kind of deck. And if you're, semi-new to Hearthstone or, just don't have a lot of legendaries and you need dust, he's just not a card you'd want to keep. So heading over to the Mage, we're getting into Ronin, a really nice Mage card. Really surprised because Mage already had... it already has Archmage, which is a great legendary. Then it got Flame Leviathan, which blow freaking cock. So I'm glad that Ronin came in here and kind of saved the day with this expansion and having, a decent Mage legendary. Not that Mage isn't already good enough. So this guy is an 8-drop 7/7, so the stats are decent. They're not fantastic, but the stats are better than, a 7-drop 4/2. And then his Death Rattle is what really makes this guy shine, and that's add 3 copies of Arcane Missiles to your hand. So you read that and you're like, alright, Arcane Missiles, a 1-drop, does 3 damage. Not too crazy, right? But if you combo this with Archmage, so let's say you play your Ronin on turn 8, he dies, right? Or let's say he dies turn 9, turn 8, whatever. He dies sometime on his, battle on the field. And you get those 3 Arcane Missiles. Then you summon Archmage. Then now you can play, since Archmage is a 7-drop, you can play 3 Arcane Missiles, which will do 9 damage. If you have an Azure Drake or a Flame Waker on the field or a Sorcerer's Apprentice, you'll be able to play them for free or they'll do more damage. There's tons of combos you can do. But for the main part, we'll focus on if you have Archmage out. So let's say you have Archmage out, you play those 3 Arcane Missiles, you get 9 damage out of it, plus you get 3 Fireballs for the price of 3 manas, and you were able to play an Archmage, which is a 5/7 creature, which is fairly big on his own. So it's just... having 3 Arcane Missiles is huge, especially in the Tempo Mage with the Flame Waker, the Sorcerer's Apprentice, having an Azure Drake, so now they'll do 4 damage instead of 3. So there's just a ton of ways to, really use those Arcane Missiles to your advantage. And also, Effigy with this guy is amazing as well. So I'm glad Mage has got a nice legendary out of there. I enjoy Mage a lot, and Tempo Mage is probably one of my favorite decks. So Ronin is just one of those cards. If you play Mage, you like Tempo Mage, or he almost fits into any Mage, I'd like to say, besides, like, Freeze Mage. But for the most part, this is kind of a guy you definitely want to keep. I wouldn't recommend DEing him, just because of how powerful his Death Rattle is. Heading to the Paladins, we got Edric the Pure. He's horrible. I'm sorry. I've seen a lot of players say, hey, he does, if you're playing against like a Demon Handlock and they have 3 8/8s on the field and you play Edric, you can, make him useless. Well, I'm sorry, if your opponent has 3 8/8s on the field, it's probably, you're going to lose anyway. But, I mean, if you happen to have this guy on turn 7, they happen to play 3 8/8s, it's the one situation he may be good for. But I would rather just play 2 Aldor the Peacekeepers. They're half the mana cost, they're a 3 attack as well. And it just works for the curve of a Paladin deck. It just works out better if you end up playing 2 Aldor the Peacekeepers. Also, they're not legendary; they're just epics, so they might be a little cheaper on the gold, or you might already have them because they're from the original set. You don't have to craft a whole new legendary. So I would just, it's just one of those cards where it's really just not worth the value. I guess it's kind of cool because it does it to your entire enemy field. So if you're like going against a rush deck and they have a field full of shit, it's still, I just don't see it. I haven't played against a single Paladin who's used this against me. I've seen them still use Aldor the Peacekeeper, which in my opinion is the better alternative to this card. But I have yet to see someone play this card against me, and it's just because a 7-drop 3/7 with an ability like that is just not worth it. So unfortunately, if you get this guy, I would recommend DEing it. Even if you play Paladin, you think it's going to work in your Paladin deck, sure, throw him in there. You're not going to be able, there's just not enough potential with this guy to really warrant playing him. So yeah, that's what I have to say about him. And I just find if I've been playing, I mean, I play Hearthstone, I would say every day to every other day, and if I don't see a single person playing a card against me, like even if it was just one time and it worked, I would, duly note that. But not a single time have I seen anyone play Edric the Pure. It's just one of or the Druid Legendary. So it's just like, you got to take that into account. Moving into the Priest Legendary, Confessor Paletress. This is a really cool card. I like it a lot. Off the bat, do not DE this card, in my opinion. It says Inspire. Alright, so 7-drop, 5/4. The stats aren't great. They're okay. They're a 5/4 is not tiny, but it's not big. A 7, I mean, you get the point. And it's the whole point of this card is his ability or her ability, and it is Inspire, summon a random legendary minion. So this could either mean Lorewalker Cho, the 0/4 that gives, you trade spells back and forth, or it could mean, a Deathwing, a 12/12 huge beater. I've seen the games swing completely off of this card's Inspire mechanic. Hold on. Talking a lot, gotta take a water break. I've seen huge swings in games on her Inspire ability, so I would say she's the RNG goddess. For the most part, though, Priest really needed a solid legendary that you could play almost in any Priest deck where it makes sense. You can play her. I mean, Velen is not Velen's. Is that his name? Let's just say the other 7-drop Priest legendary. It was really never played. Unfortunately, he was a 7/7, so he was big game hunter, target number 1. With her having 5 attack, it kind of puts her out of big game hunter range, but only having 4 HP kind of puts her within, she can die to a piloted Treader, which is a 4-drop. So expect her to definitely die the following turn after you play her. So you're either going to have to play a ton in front of her so they can't attack her, or you're going to have to play her on turn 9 so you can use her Inspire right away. And if she lives long enough to do it again, then you get, even more value out of her. But if you play Priest and you get Confessor Paletress, definitely throw her in your deck. You'll definitely win some games because of her, and you'll have some crazy RNG. I have an example. I was watching, I don't remember whose stream it was, but they were able to, they played her on turn 9. The opposing player had, I think, Emperor on the field, and they were able to get Ice Howl out of her Inspire and a kill off the Emperor right away, which the Emperor obviously would have traded with Paletress, and she was able to live the following turn, and then he was able to, use her passive again. And that even, I don't remember what it granted him, but I just remember the Ice Howl off the top. It was able to kill the Emperor, and it was just a really cool play, and it was only that play would only be able to do it with Confessor Pillagers. So, really nice Priest card. Glad to see some great Inspire mechanics coming from this, and yeah, definitely don't DE it, and if you're a Priest player, you'll enjoy it very, very much. Heading over to the Shaman, the Mistcaller. When they first revealed this card in TGT, everybody was freaking out, saying this was absolutely broken. A 6-drop 4/4. The stats aren't there, but the ability again is what makes this guy so great, and it's give all your other minions +1/+1 in your hand and deck. So everybody was freaking out about this card, saying, Shaman, this is a new great Shaman legendary, absolutely broken. Shaman's back on the map, boys, #1 tier. That didn't happen at all. I have seen this card played against me, I believe twice it is, and both times when he played it, unfortunately the game ended shortly after. I was able to pick up the win, I believe in both of them, if not one of them. I don't really remember, but I remember the game it ended very shortly after. So even though he did play this card and he got the effect from it, he didn't get to play a whole lot of creatures after that really, warranted the value from playing a 6-drop 4/4. Because, I mean, I would much rather play on Sylvanas, which is only a 5/5, but she's able to take a card from your opponent's side of the field if you play her correctly. So this is not a bad card by any means. If you're a Shaman player, you love Shaman, you'll definitely like the Mistcaller if you're playing, like, let's say a mid-range Shaman or Control Shaman or even Dragon Shaman. So it depends how you play him in your deck, and when you draw him. So there's hits and misses with him, but as I've seen so far, he hasn't been huge. He hasn't been a huge legendary card impact on any of the games I've played so far. So if you're not really a Shaman player, you pull him out of a pack and you're like, honestly, I'd probably DE him. And if you don't have Dr. Boom, like I've said so many times, get yourself a Dr. Boom, get yourself a Ysera, get yourself a Sylvanas the Windrunner, get yourself some of those neutral legendaries that go into all of the decks that you see, all of like the mainstream decks first, and then kind of work your way into class-specific cards. Unless you enjoy Paladin, then obviously craft Tyrion, that guy's fucking broken, but for the most part, if you don't find yourself playing Shaman, it's just one of those cards that it's very specific in the deck, and you only can play it in particular kinds of Shaman decks. So, sorry, Mistcaller, but you're good, but not that great. Heading into the Warlock card, another one of these cards that was, when it was kind of revealed in TGT, people were going crazy. They said Mr. Fizzlebang's going to be insane. It says he's a 6-drop 4/4, so the stats, again, just not there, but the ability is why people loved him. And it says cards you draw from your hero power cost 0. So ideally, you play this card on turn 8, you use your hero power, whatever you draw costs 0, and he'll die the following turn. If your opponent, swipes him or fireballs or whatever your opponent decides to do, he is not a card that's going to stick on the field unless you have an army to defend him. So again, RNG favored card. If you pull if you top deck a Jiraxis from your passive, obviously that's insane value. Huge plays will come with it, and you're probably going to win the game. But let's say you get like a Mortal Coil, you get a Dark Bomb, you get a card that it really doesn't, having it cost 0 isn't a huge factor. And people use the comparison, well, you can play this guy in control, like a handlock, which is most of the cards you think are really big. But I believe I watched the Trump video on that with him analyzing this card in particular, and he said the average card in the deck, even if you're favoring high drop 8/8s, is like the mid-range between like a 3 and a 4, I think it is, cost creature. So the most he can possibly reduce it by is like 3 to 4 on average, and then the standard error, not standard, I don't even know what the fuck I'm saying. Anyway, it's a hit or miss card. You're either going to get tons of value or you're going to get meh value. So I honestly have no Warlock has played this card against me. I honestly tried to play him in a deck, and I continuously drew him in not favorable times. And normally on turn 8, if you're using it just to play a 6-drop that has 4/4 in stats and you don't draw a creature to follow up to play next to him, turn 8 for them is most likely going to be Dr. Boom, not Ysera, but like a Rag. So you have to get something good off your passive, and if you don't, it's definitely a huge tempo swing back. That's so I would say if you get Fizzlebang, he's just not worth keeping. I haven't seen him, like I said, played in any of the games against me, and I've been playing, every other day to every day, at least a couple hours on ranked, and I've made it to Legend, and it's just not a card I've been seeing. So unfortunately, it's just one of those cards you're going to have to DE. Alright, I gotta take another drink. Sorry, guys. Okay. So Varian, a nice warrior legendary. It says a 10-drop, 7/7, so the stats are okay. 10 mana is a hefty price to pay. And its battle cry is draw 3 cards, put any minions you drew directly into the battlefield. This may seem insane. The value is off the charts. It is. If you end up getting like Ragnaros. If you end up getting Ragnaros, Ysera, and like a Baron or, Hellscream, that's absolutely insane. That's the warrior dream. That's the best you could possibly get. But for the most of the time, it's not going to be that. So I would say about 50% of the time, you're going to draw this card somewhere on turn 3 through 5, or, it's always random. It's a card game. For the most part, he'll sit in your hand at least a couple turns, a lot of the time. And then turn 10 rolls around, and they'll have a full field, or you'll have a full, or not full field, but you'll need to play some other cards. It's just, he's a very kind of wonky card. It's all RNG based, so if you don't get the cards you're looking for, let's say you draw all 3 because they're spells, it's bad. Or let's say it puts down the True Heart, yeah. It throws down your 6/3 True Heart that you needed to use it for your passive, and since you don't get the ability from it, it's just a 6/3 on the field. Or it throws down your big game hunter, you never got to kill, a 7+ creature with it. So there's a lot of drawbacks to this card, but also drawing 3 cards is huge in a warrior deck, because it doesn't have a ton of draw besides like Shield Block and Alkali to Pain. So it's a hit or miss in my opinion. I don't run it in my control warrior deck, and I believe my control warrior deck is doing just fine. I see a lot of other streamers not running it, and I mean, I've seen a lot of other warriors play it against me, and like most of the time they'll get like a Sledge Belcher. They'll maybe get like 1 legendary that'll die the following turn because I'll use a Brawl or whatnot. So it all depends on the situation, I suppose. He's not bad. If you find yourself playing a lot of warrior and you like the effect of the card, sure, put it in your deck. There's no drawback. But again, if you don't find yourself playing a lot of Warrior, and by the way, Control Warrior is a very, very expensive deck. So if you're new to this game, Control Warrior is not a deck you want to, like, you know, focus in on building. You want to, you know, try the Mage decks, the Hunter decks, the kind of the cheaper, really effective decks you can build to get the grasp on the game. And then, you know, work your way into some of the harder classes like Priest, Warrior, Rogue. So that's what I have to say about that card. And just on a side note, guys, before I kind of move on, all of these cards, this is just my opinion. If you don't think you should DE it, or you think, you know, different than me, that is perfectly fine. I'm just letting you know, as a player who plays a lot, because Hearthstone is, you know, everybody's got their game. Hearthstone's my game. And I'm just letting you know what I'm seeing to kind of give you guys the best insight possible, and take it if you want it. If you don't, it's not a big deal, but I'm just, you know, trying to help you guys out as best as possible. So now we're going to move into the neutral legendaries. Fuck, I said I need to cut back on my ums. I'll try to go over these a little bit quicker. I know this video is a little bit lengthy, but I'll do my best. So I'm actually going to combine Darkbane and Lightbane together on this one. And that is because their abilities are very similar, and it says whenever you target this minion with a spell, deal 3 damage to a random enemy, including their character. And then the Lightbane says give this card Divine Shield if it's targeted with a spell. So they very similar in their effects. One gets a Divine Shield, the other does 3 damage. I found that playing these in a Priest deck, very, very fun, very effective, because priests have a lot of self-buff cards. So, you know, Power Ward Shield, Velen's Chosen. There's a lot of cards that, you know, target specific creatures, buff them, and then because of that, with these cards are actually going to get an additional ability from the actual card itself, not only the spell. I found that being really good and working out very nicely in a lot of my games, but unfortunately there's not, besides, like, I would say Priest and Paladin, I mean, Druids have, like, Mark of the Wild, but for the most part, there's not a lot of direct target spells, so getting one of these cards isn't a make or break in any game. It's not going to change the game completely unless you get some, like, super play out of it, but I really don't see, like, Ragnaros, you know, changes games. Confessor Paletrist changes games. Hellscream, 10 damage in 1 turn. If you Taskmaster him, that's 12 damage. That changes games. But, you know, a 3/4 that gets a Divine Shield or deals 3 damage really isn't game-changing, and it's a legendary. So if you end up getting, if you have both of them, I would say throw them in a Priest deck, see how you like it. But if you only have one and you don't play a lot of Priest, you can DE this without really any worry if you're missing out on anything huge. That's pretty much about them. Gormak the Impaler, this is a card I think had a lot of potential in my opinion, but kind of lost it when it said if you have at least 4 other minions, deal 4 damage. I think it should say 3, and he could be a 4th, you know what I mean? And then he counts as the 4, but you have to have 4 already, not including him, which means you have to have, when you play him, 5 creatures on your side of the field. That's a lot of creatures to get only 4 damage out of this guy. So he's a 4-drop for 4/4, so the stats are okay. He's got 1 more health than a Piloted Shredder, and he can deal 4 damage, but just having 4 other creatures, 4 other, remember that. So if you muster for battle, play this guy, no ability. You have to have 4 creatures. And I've seen a lot of people make this mistake because they think he is the 4th creature. It does not work like that. So, unfortunately, he's just not a card I would consider playing at all, ever. I mean, his ability, yes, it does 4 damage if you have that 4+ creatures, and that can change games, but the amount of times that'll change a game in your favor versus the amount of times you don't have 4 creatures, it's just not worth playing him in my opinion. I'd rather just play a Piloted Shredder because let's say there's nothing on your side of the field, or you only have 2 creatures, or you only have 3 creatures. It's just better to play a card that's always good, pretty much no matter what, versus a card that's only good sometimes with relatively the same stats, and it's a legendary, which is going to cost you some gold, or not DEing him is going to delay you in actually crafting something that's worthy that will change games. So that's my opinion on him. Could have been better, but he's just not. Next is Champion Sarad, is one of those cards, I would say, again, an RNG goddess. It's a 5-drop for 4/5, so the stats are fairly good. Not bad at all. Having 5 HP, if he was a 5/4, I would say he's not very good, but the fact that he has the 5 HP, so he's out of range from Swipe, out of range from the Frostbolt Ping, you know what I mean? He can kind of eviscerate the Rogue spell, so he's kind of out of range from a lot of single target spells, which is really nice. Hold on, guys. Sorry about this. A lot of talking. Woo! Okay, so he's Inspire, and it's add a random spell to your hand. So after you use a passive, you get a random card, any class, moves into your hand. I'll actually put up a video shortly after this discussing the percentages of the cards you'll actually need. So like the percentages of buff spells, the percentages of getting a damage spell, and all that good stuff. So I actually have some numbers to go along with this guy in a later video. I'm not sure what I'll name that. Probably like percentage tips you should know. Anyway, so this guy can definitely change games. I had some notes on this guy to say. Let's see what I wrote down. Sorry, I wrote down a little summary of each card. And what did I write about this guy? I compared him to Unstable Portal because that's a good card. Good call. I'm glad I looked over. So Unstable Portal says put any random creature in your hand and have it cost 3 less. This guy says put any random spell into your hand. It doesn't cost anything less, but it's the same factor of you can put any. And it's just one of those cards that'll really help you, like I said, or it really won't. The stats aren't bad, and he's going to be, as soon as you play him, you would ideally play him on turn 7 because you're going to want to use your passive right away to grant you that extra spell. And then after that, if he doesn't die the following turn, great. Use your passive again, get another extra spell. But for the most part, he's going to be #1 kill priority. At least he would be on my list for a card, I need to remove off my opponent's field. So just keep in mind that. I mean, if you have no other great turn 5 play, throw him down, but for the most part, he's a turn 7 guy. Heading to Sire Ramshield, this is probably, I would say, one of the least favorable, worst legendaries to come from TGT. He's a 6-drop, 3/9, so not that great. And it says whenever your hero takes damage, this minion takes it instead. So whether you're playing Warlock and you use your passive, whether they attack your hero directly, everything comes off this guy's health prior to taking off of your health. Even if they attack your hero directly, they don't take the 3 damage from his attack, which I think if they were to take the 3 damage from this guy's attack first, he would be something worthy of playing. But the fact that you can kind of just ignore him, it's just not. I have nothing good to say about that guy. I've never seen. The only time this card was ever played against me is when someone used Confessor Paletris, or I got effigied off of 6 mana creature, and it brought out this guy. So we're moving to Juskar the Trueheart. I believe this card changed a lot. Not changed a lot. What's the right one? Changed that outlook on hero powers a lot, because let's say you use her on a warrior, they now get 4 armor instead of 2. You use it on a priest, they now heal for 4 instead of 2. So it just kind of supercharges your passive for the rest of the game, which is like infinite value. So whether the priest is playing a soul priest and now it does 4 damage for 2 mana as many times as they want, or a fatigue warrior getting 4 armor a turn just every turn, it really puts a damper on the aggro decks. I believe when she was put into the control warrior and the control priest decks, it really gave aggro like a much harder time pushing through that damage, because as soon as she comes out, healing for 4 every turn or gaining 4 armor is just huge. And she's a 6/3, so if she's not killed by a dark bomb or a low drop creature, she's going to be able to deal a decent amount of damage, or at least take out a decent creature because of that 6 attack. So even though she has low HP, she's still an annoyance already on her own. I would say if she's like a 4/4, it wouldn't be as annoying, because 4 attack's not crazy, but 6 attack, I mean, that's pretty devastating to take to the face, or it can take out a creature. So definitely. Oh, I actually didn't. Oh, okay. Actually, when I was talking about Gormak, Nexus Champion, and Wolf, I didn't really say if you should DE it. Gormak, DE. Champion Sarad, do not DE. Sorry, I fucked up. And then Wolf Ramshield, DE that guy. And then Juskar, do not DE her. She's definitely great, in my opinion. She fits well into a lot of different decks, and you'll see her played a lot, whether on stream, professional players using her, or even in tournaments. Definitely played a lot in Control Warrior, played a lot in Control Priest. And sorry about the Nexus Champion and the Bolt not mentioning how you should DE them. That's kind of like the ending of what you should do on them. Alright. So Chilmaw, this is, in my opinion, one of the better dragons that came out of TGT. It's a 7-drop, 6/6 taunt, and it says Death Rattle. If you're holding a dragon, deal 3 damage to all other minions. So when I saw 3 damage to all other minions, I thought of a Grim Patron Killer. I put this in my Dragon Priest deck. Relatively one of the first games I played, I went against the Grim Patron Warrior deck. They made a bunch of patrons. They attacked into Chilmaw. It cleared their entire field. No more patrons. So it was actually a Grim Patron killer in a lot of the matchups I had with Dragon Priest against the Patron Warrior deck. Also, it's a 6/6 body with taunt, so if you're playing against an aggro deck, not only does it hold its own with, you know, taking the damage because of its taunt, it also is a dragon, so it synergizes well with that, with the Corruptor and the Technician, but it also does 3 damage to everything, and 3 damage when you're a priest and playing a control priest deck, it really doesn't hurt you a ton unless, you know, everything on your side's low, but for the most part, it's going to affect your opponent more than you, and also they have to make the bet whether or not you have the dragon in your hand or not, so they kind of have to, you know, make a bet what they're going to do. I would say definitely don't DE this guy if you're playing dragon decks. If you have no intention of playing any sort of dragon deck whatsoever, I wouldn't recommend, you know, keeping Chill Maul or crafting him, but, you know, if you enjoy dragon decks, you plan on playing, you know, Dragon Mage, Dragon Warrior, Dragon Priest, Dragon Shaman. I have him in every single one of those decks, and I also have all of those deck guides on our channel under deck guides. So, play Dragon. Chill Maul's great. If you don't, DE him. Moving to Sky Captain Crag with Charge. He's a 7-drop 4/6, and it says cost 1 less for each friendly pirate. This is a very situational card. You only play him in pirate decks, and as of now, there are no... I would say some streamers, you know, as a joke, they'll play a pirate deck now and then, and they'll do fairly well with it, but for the most part, a pirate deck is not... It's never... I don't think I played against a single person playing a pirate deck. If I did, it was like one person. He didn't do very well. So if you end up getting this guy, I would DE him. Even if you plan on, you know, making a pirate rogue deck just for the lulz, it's not really worth keeping a legendary that you could DE for something else you definitely need just to play this guy. So even if he is a cool pirate and he has a semi-cool ability and he says charge and he's riding a parrot and he has a hook as an arm, unfortunately, he's just not a keeper. Alright, moving to our last neutral legendary. I feel like I've been talking a while, so guys, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to do this as fast as I can to get out as much relevant information as I can. So stick with me, we're on the last one here. We're talking about Ice Howl. He's a 9-drop 10/10 with charge. Not charge, because he's not captain, he's just an Ice Howl, so it's charge. And he says it can't attack other heroes. So... he can't attack directly, but he can attack other creatures. So the only deck that comes to mind when I look at Ice Howl is playing Fatigue Warrior, and that's solely just to clear field and make your opponent have to deal with him, because if they don't, he's just going to continuously bash into their creatures, and he can kill practically whatever the fuck he wants. There's no, I mean, unless it's a Ysera, I really don't see him not being able to take down whatever Ice Howl looks at. Just like the raid in World of Warcraft, if you get caught with him staring at you against the wall, if you get hit by him, you're dead. So, it's just one of those very situational cards. I haven't seen a single person, again, play one against me. So, because he's just so deck specific, and I haven't seen him played in any deck against me, I would recommend DEing him and enchanting some card that actually you do need. And to wrap this up, when you say, alright, you told me to DE half the TGT legendaries are gone, or all of them, because there's really not many you normally want to keep besides, you know, the Mage one or Confessor Paletress. I went over those, but... I would recommend taking a look at the Ultimate Disenchant guide. The annotation should be on the left there, and that will kind of go over the neutral it'll go over the class-specific cards and the TGT or the GVG cards, and kind of tell you which ones are the top ones and whatnot. So I would go there, check those out. If you don't have some of those legendaries, I'd recommend crafting them. I explain why you should craft them and what kind of decks they move into. I would work with, you know, getting the neutral legendaries that fit into almost all the decks, figuring out what kind of decks you enjoy playing, and then crafting those specific legendaries after you've got all your neutral ones, because the neutral ones can go into any deck. And as I said, class specific, you're really kind of stuck with playing just that class for you to use that legendary. So if you, let's say you don't play Paladin, but you really like Tyrion, I mean, don't craft Tyrion, that doesn't make sense, but if you play Paladin, you really enjoy it, Tyrion's a good choice. So, and I kind of go over that in our other video. I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any comments, concerns, or questions, feel free to ask in the comment section below. I'm here for you guys. I have no problem answering whatever you guys have to ask, so fire away. I believe I went over all of the legendaries, and if you have any questions or I skip something, I'm here for that. And yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate every single person. on our channel, gives us feedback and kind of interacts with me, so I'm not just talking to a webcam all the time. I'm actually communicating with you guys outside of that. And like always, I'm Warshack, and happy whatever the hell day it is.